who began recording, but that would be good. Let me see. Okay, there you go. Okay, Bruchim Abayim, welcome all of you. I have to say one more time, it's an enormous honor to do for a second year this Selihot series. Last year when the pandemic came, I was enormously concerned about how we were going to connect with each other for the Yamim Noraim, for Rosh Hashanah, for Yom Kippur, and how services on Zoom were going to give us an opportunity to connect both, if not personally, certainly, but also spiritually, when this medium is impersonal in many ways. It came to me, this idea. I see that Jake has the Sephardic Federation right in the back. Now he changed from Yerushalayim, he came to Florida. So it's good. So it came to me, something that my ancestors would have done. They would have knocked in the morning at 5 o'clock, 5 a.m., and they would have said, it's time for Selihot. It is time to actually to begin our prayers of penitence. And there is a piyut called Ben Adam Ma Lecha Nirdam that says, human being, why are you sleeping? Kum kirav et hanunim. Stand and begin to offer supplications. And both, not only because it was at 5 o'clock in the morning, just before the Shacharit service, when it's dark and it's people don't normally come at that time, but also because we wanted to spiritually awaken ourselves. And I wanted to say to all of you that I wanted this year to make sure that we were honoring the letters of the Hebrew alphabet because they are the source of what we are as Jews, whether it's the Sefer Torah, the Torah, or any other of our documents, have those 22 letters. So I wanted to begin to say that the Hebrew letters are not just ordinary letters. Each letter is a symbol full of many inner meanings, from literal to deeper spiritual meaning. And many people feel that those letters express some direct spiritual communication that goes beyond words. During this upcoming days, from tonight and all the way to Yom Kippurim in the afternoon, from Sunday through Thursday, we're going to be honoring each of those letters from Alef to Tav. And if you allow me, I would like to dedicate the Selihot sessions for this year to Avi West, who just left us. And he was a powerhouse in the Jewish education world. Avi was an incredibly creative and knowledgeable and insightful person. And he certainly left an impression on everyone that studied or learned from him. Yehi Zichro Baruch, may his memory be for a blessing. And now, as an introduction to what we're doing this evening, I want to read something for you very profound that my friend David Balto, who's here, shared with me this morning. It came from Sepharia. If you're not familiar with Sepharia, it's a fantastic internet tool that connects you, whether it's for the Talmud or the Tanakh or the Bible at all levels. And this is a text that comes from the Talmud. It actually connects us to the time of Tisha B'Av, of the time when the temple was destroyed. And says, Rabbi Shmuel says, after the temple was destroyed, Abraham came to the throne of glory, and he was weeping and tearing. His garments were torn, and he was covered with ashes. Thus he went about and called upon God. And he said, am I worse than other fathers that I should suffer such shame? God therefore answered and said, since my friend Abraham has left the world, he has not come to see the welfare of my house. Why then does he come now? And Abraham replied, why have you exiled my children and handed them over to barbaric peoples who slay them with numerous kinds of deaths? Why have you allowed the temple, the place where I offered my son for the sake of your great name, if you remember the Akedah, the almost binding of Yitzhak, to be destroyed? And God replied to Abraham, your children have made mistakes. They have not observed the commandments of my Torah, and they transgressed against the 22 sacred letters of the Torah. Who will bear witness against my children that they have not observed the commandments, or that they transgressed against its 22 sacred letters? Abraham asked. The Torah is the best witness, God replied. The Torah then came out and was ready to testify against all Jews, but Abraham said, daughter, you wish to testify against the Jews that they did not observe your commandments? Are you not ashamed of your testimony? Do you not remember the day when God carried you among all the nations and they refused to accept you until my children came to Mount Sinai and they accepted you with honor? Will you now testify against them in the hour of their affliction? When the Torah heard this, it stepped aside and God called upon the 22 letters to come and testify. The first was the letter Alef. And Abraham said to it, you, who are the first letter of the alphabet, come to testify against my children. When God appeared on Mount Sinai and offered the 10 commandments, the Aseret HaDivrot, which begin with an Alef, no people would accept you until my children did. Would you now testify against them? In shame, the Alef stepped aside, and the Bet came up to testify. To it, Abraham said, you would testify against my children who accepted the Torah, which begins with a Bet. In shame, the Bet stepped aside, and the Gimel came forward, and Abraham addressed it. God's commandments, which begin with the Gimel, was rejected by all nations until my children accepted it. Would you testify against them? After the Gimel appeared the Dalet. And again, Abraham said, will you testify against my children? When God told Moshe, speak to the children of Israel, which begins with a Dalet, did they not heed him? In shame, the Dalet also stepped aside, and when the other letters saw that Abraham shamed them, they refused to testify against the Jewish people. Then Abraham said, Lord of the world, Ribono shel Olam, when I was 100 years old, you gave me a son, and when he reached the age of 37, you commanded me to offer him to you as a sacrifice. I then hardened my heart, and I showed no mercy to him in order to fulfill your wish. Now you have forgotten all that, and you showed not mercy toward my children. This is the story that I wanted to share with you. A story that, one more time, I want to thank David Balto for making it personal and sending it. And I thought that was a powerful introduction for this. I also wanted to say that we're going to begin, of course, those of you that know me know that I will begin with music. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at an acrostic that is a poem that has all the letters of the alphabet from Alef to Tav. And in this poem is called Hadon HaSelichot. The author is anonymous. Perhaps it's because any one of us could have written it. And the words of the refrain of the Pismon say, Chatanu lefanecha, rachem alenu. We have made mistakes in front of you, God. Please forgive us. And it goes on with each one of those letters. And I wanted to show it to you here as I share the screen. And let's see if we can learn it together. Let's see if we can learn it together. So this is the part. This is what's so good about Sephardic piyutim, that you don't have to learn all of it. You can learn just these words. Chatanu lefanecha, rachem alenu. This is it. This is it. And it happens 20 times. So if you didn't learn it the first time, at the end, you're fluent. Chatanu lefanecha, rachem alenu. And I'll sing for you that refrain. And it goes like this. Chatanu lefanecha, rachem alenu. Chatanu lefanecha, rachem alenu. Let's do it together. Chatanu lefanecha, rachem alenu. Chatanu lefanecha, rachem alenu. And every time, every night, we're going to be singing one of those lines. If Adona Selihot, in this case, we're going to do 4 letters, and then we're going to go to Chatanu lefanecha. So it goes like this. Adona Selihot, bochen lebavot, gole amukot, dober tzedakot, and you will answer, Chatanu lefanecha, rachem alenu. Chatanu lefanecha, rachem alenu. So you may think, so what happens with this? And how is it that people actually do it for real, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how is it that that people do it there where Jake was in Yerushalayim, and see if all of us can see the incredible amount of spirituality that happens at in Yerushalayim when people sing together Adona Selihot. So I'm going to share the screen one more time and see if you can join me for it. Adona Selihot, oh, hey, go. So I think that gives you a little flavor of how is that we can pour our hearts and show with distinct emotion and intent, kavanah, as we say in Hebrew. The idea of being able to pour our hearts and make sure that perhaps by the prayer of all of us together, God would hopefully listen to our prayers. And not only to listen to our prayers, but also to make sure that when we get out, as by the way, very important for all of you to know, this is a video of years ago. It's not right now in Israel. This is not happening with thousands of people singing Chatanu Lefanecha. Not yet. May next year happen for all of us. May we all be there and be able to sing with all of them as well. And so what I wanted to say is that this is the power of the prayers, or it can be, that for us to connect with the letters of the alphabet and to show in distinct terms that in fact, no letter alone could do justice of what our heart is asking for. And it's not only asking it towards God, but it's also asking it towards every one of us. Ben Adam lechavero, between a human being and literally a friend, which I hope every one of us, not only here at this session, but around, can actually be able to be connected, so we can have empathy towards each other, and empathy to each other, not only by looking at each other, but also to having empathy towards our social, economic needs, hopefully racial equality, and is because of that Shirat HaNefesh, the community that I'm honored to lead, is bringing together a number of institutions that do this throughout the year. One of them is called Jews United for Justice, who organizes 14,000 Jews and allies from across the DC and Maryland area, and focus on issue-based campaigns with the concrete intent of improving people's lives, whether it has to do with racism or inequity or eviction prevention, reimagining public safety, and paid family and medical leave, all issues that are so dear to our hearts, and that we want to make sure that our society here in the United States, but also around the world, is able to see each other and make sure that we have compassion, rachamim, towards each other. So because of that is that we are joining Jews United for Justice this year, and Shirat HaNefesh is coming with a topic that I hope is also dear to all of you, the topic of another Sephardic piyut called Shavat Aniim Ata Tishma, the clamor of the poor shall you hear. May it be that we can use this tefillot, this bakashot, these prayers to connect with each other more deeply, and since this is certainly the intention of the sessions, I now want to give you a little bit of a flavor of what we're going to be having. Of course, tomorrow we continue at 8 p.m. With the letter, you guessed, letter Alef. And I'm thrilled that Cantor Janet Roth from New Jersey is going to come, and she's going to be teaching us about the letter Alef. And I'm thrilled that letter Bet is going to be, this is going to be immense pressure, I'm sure, to to my cousin, dear cousin, Daniel Cavavier, who's going to take letter Bet. And then on Thursday, we're going to conclude the week with our friend David Balto, who's going to be teaching us about letter Dalet. All that is planned for you for this week. We continue then on letter, of course, Hey, but that's gonna be Sunday, and I won't tell you anymore. But I think that what we should all do then is just to go back to share the screen and sing together this this Adona Selihot, and make sure that we learn it. At the end of the Selihot, we will be able to know it by heart, and when the time comes, be able to participate at services much better. And if Shirat HaNefesh services are not yours, anywhere you are. So let's begin from the beginning. Adona Selihot, bochen lebavot, gole amukot, dover tzedakot, chatanu lefanecha, rachem alenu, chatanu lefanecha, rachem alenu. Hadur beniflaot, vatik benechamot, zocher berit avot, choker kelayot. Join me. Chatanu lefanecha, rachem alenu, chatanu lefanecha, rachem alenu. Tov umetiv לבריot, יודע כל נסתרות, כובש עוונות, לובש צדקות, חטאנו לפניך, רחם עלינו, חטאנו לפניך, רחם עלינו. מלא זכיות, נורא תהילות, סולח עוונות, עונה בעצרות, חטאנו לפניך, רחם עלינו, חטאנו לפניך, רחם עלינו. פועל ישועות, צופה עתידות, קורא הדורות, רוחב ערבות, שומע תפילות, ימים דעות, חטאנו לפניך, רחם עלינו. Master of pardons, discerner of hearts, perceiver of submerged thoughts, proclaimer of charities, we have sinned in front of you. Have mercy upon us. Glorified by wonder, ancient one of consolations, remember of the forefathers' covenant, examiner of consciousness, the good who bestows good on the creatures, knower of all concealed things, suppressor of iniquities, wearer of righteous acts. We have sinned in front of you. Have mercy upon us. Full of merit, awesome one of praises, forgiver of iniquities, answerer in times of distress. We have made mistakes in front of you. Have mercy upon us. Worker of deliverances, foreseer of future events, announcer of the generations, rider of clouds, hearkener of prayers, perfect in understanding. We have made mistakes in front of you. Have mercy upon us. Merciful God is your name. Gracious God is your name. Long patient God is your name. We are called by your name. So God, do it for the sake of your name. And before we end, as they say, Acharon, Acharon Chaviv, I want to thank the one that have made all this possible. If you've seen the amazing publicity and the wonderful writing, it's a merit of this gentleman over here, Irv Cohen, who has been together. I have the honor and the immense pleasure to be his friend for how many decades already. May we never be able to count. And with that, I'm going to say to all of you what we always say at the end of the Selihot, Laila Tov. May you have a wonderful evening, the rest of it. And may I have the privilege to see you tomorrow as we begin with our first of the letters, letter of Alef. Have a good night.
Ramón.
Rochim to you. Maybe you'll have the merit of performing many mitzvot. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, see you tonight. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.